Another beautiful Sunday afternoon. This is Rubbin Minds. Welcome. My name is Ebuka Obiuchendu. Thanks a lot for joining us. A lot has gone on through the week, but something stood out in the week that was. International Women's Day was celebrated across the world. And of course, Nigeria was not left out. We're going to be dedicating our show today celebrating women, talking about all the issues that revolve around women, and of course, uniquely to Nigeria. Yes, we're talking women, and Ebuka is here talking about that. But just to make sure that everything is done as it should, I have a special co-host today joining me on the show. She is a TV host of so many, many years, a producer, and a very good friend of mine. Please join me as I welcome Stephanie Koka-Aderiokun. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
And well, I would say Happy Mother's Day, but I extend it to your wife.
Yes, I will.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. Hello, everyone. March comes with a lot of excitement, joy, and celebration of women everywhere. Every day, I'm reminded of the power we hold as women and how far we've come in chasing and making our dreams come true in spite of the many holdbacks and societal expectations. Women are thriving and becoming more.
Definitely they are. And we look at what's happening around the world, and most, especially in Nigeria, actually looking at the past, women who have shaped our nation. And what we are going through now, we're hoping that the women who have found their space in government today help us out of this quagmire that we found ourselves right now, because things are rough.
Yeah.
And hopefully the women can do it for us, isn't it?
Yeah. And one nice thing is that there are quite a number of women in this,
in this government,
administration. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're keeping our fingers crossed that they help us out of all our problems. But we'll have a special guest here joining us on the show today who has quite an interesting role, and we'll be getting into it. She's a Chief Legal and Company Secretary at Eco Electric Disco. Wola Joseph-Condotti. Thanks a lot for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Ebuka.
I know people just hear Eco Disco and all our tentacles are up, because I have many questions.
Yeah, I was just thinking about electricity.
It's Mother's Day. What are we talking about?
Happy International Women's Day. Happy Mother's Day.
So
and everything. Let's not start with harassing you.
Yeah. Let's not even continue with that.
So, I mean, you sit on the board of this organization that is extremely pivotal to Nigeria. Eco Disco is at the center of what you would probably call the economic hub of the nation, right? And with all the teething issues and all of that, first of all, being on a board like that, because when I think of Eco Disco, I think of men just sitting around the table and making all those decisions. Is that the truth? Is that the fact? And how has it been navigating your way through that space?
Okay, so first of all, let me clarify. I sit on the board as a company secretary, not really as a full board member. So I don't really have voting rights. All I do is kind of guide, advise from time to time, and just generally keep them up to date on what's going on with the company. Our board is actually, we have 6 men and 1 woman. But I must tell you that...
She took a deep breath.
but you see, so I must tell you that on the senior management level, we have a majority of women. So my board is the kind of board that actually is very, very sensitive to women's needs, and they support women as much as possible. So despite the fact that they're all males, a lot of them actually have mostly female kids. So I think that has actually spilled into the way they think and interpret what it is that the woman should be doing. And so at the senior management level, we actually have a lot more females than we have males. That is not necessarily like they went out and looked for females. It's just that we're actually, I'm sorry to say this, we're actually we're the most competent gender and efficient gender, if I may put that out there.
Yeah, I agree.
Because people always say, we have all the cliches saying what a man can do, and all of that. And we care a lot about, women being given the, I don't know how that word sounds sometimes, almost like they need help, giving the chance to prove themselves. But I think it's a fair way to put it, right? Especially in spaces like this where, we think it's a male-dominated space. So you say there's a lot of women in those top management roles. Absolutely. Do you find that they are more efficient, any different than the men? And I'm guessing I'm saying make a case for why women should be in these places.
So Women are more efficient, I must tell you that. That's the truth. It's not even me. We juggle so much. We juggle the home, we juggle our kids, we juggle so much, and we're able to ensure that even at work, we're on top of our games. And so you can see that today, where you find that a lot of organizations, their next appointed female CEOs. I mean, if you look at even the Access Bank, a lot of all these banks have female CEOs being appointed now. So definitely we're doing very, very well. And it is definitely a deliberate attempt. But there's something I wanted to point out. It's a male-dominated industry, and it is a male-dominated company. It's a power company. A lot of our work involves carrying ladders, and I'm talking about the lower cadre staff, and climbing ladders as well. So we have a lot of males in that field. Also, it's a lot of engineers. In my class when I was in UI, we had 2 female engineers in about 100 engineers. So that tells you that even in the market, you cannot get a lot of female engineers to employ. So that's where I would say the challenge even starts from. So it's not necessarily a matter of people not wanting to engage in, and I'm talking about in the power industry, not wanting to engage female engineers. It's just there's a dearth. We don't have as many female engineers out there to employ.
Yeah. I want to ask, I know you're my co-host, but I also want to ask you too, because the theme for this year is Inspire Inclusion, right? And I think that's very, very key. And I was reading also up some stats, you know, that apparently there was a marginal decline in the number of female board members in Nigeria in the last calendar year from 27.9 to 27.4. I mean, not a lot, but it's 27% is not even close to half, right? So you work in media.
Yeah.
On air, it might look like there might be some sort of equality. Off air, do you feel like it's the same thing when you come to, I mean, I know you are doing some production now, but you look at the crew, you look at producers, directors, what are you seeing in the media space?
So, yes, what you said about the numbers, it looks like there are a lot of women in media, but that's just front-facing, the camera-facing roles. And I have a production company where our aim is to we'll try as much as possible to hire females behind the camera, because there are a lot of women that want to do, like, they want to be sound engineers, they want to hold equipment on set, they want to be runners, they want to be behind the scenes, they don't want to always be front facing. But the challenge is sometimes they apply for those roles and they're like, oh, you should actually be in front of the camera. And it's like, no, we don't really need any more people in front of the camera. This person wants to do this job. And it speaks to what you were saying about the engineers. Like, sometimes women are kind of led to study things that there's not really what they want to study. It's not the path they want to take. Things they feel are softer. Yeah, but it's like it's softer. Oh, okay, actually, no. Or men look at them and like, you can be a camera operator. It's a cameraman, not a camera woman, you know? But now we're trying to change that, and that's part of the whole inclusion. And it's great that that was the theme this year, because it's very important for us to be able to tell the younger generation that you can be whatever you want to be. And that's so cliche, and we've been saying it for centuries, but it's still there. It's still an issue where women are still being told, actually, are you sure that's what you want to do? It's not really a female role. So, I think there's a lot more that can be done in media.
Speaking of that Inspire Inclusion, I'm wondering, how do you inspire inclusion? Because it looks like it's something that the men need to hear in this case, right? Because if you're talking 27% out of 100, who's holding that space?
Is that the Nigerian statistics, or is that worldwide?
Nigeria.
Okay, because worldwide it's different. Actually.
Yeah, definitely global. This is the Nigerian statistics, Gender Diversity Scoreboard by PWR Advisory. That's where it came from. So I'm just wondering, how do you start to inspire inclusion? What do men need to hear to understand? Or do they need to see people like you doing the work before they actually understand?
I think men need to speak.
I said they, we.
No, men need to speak for women more. And I think people listen better when it's the man talking about it, because they're not the ones who are the direct beneficiaries of whatever it is that they're saying. But the truth about it is that from an indirect perspective, men benefit the most, because a lot of all these corporations, quite a number of them are owned by men. So they're beginning to see that if they employ women in these positions, women are more competent, like I said earlier, more efficient. So inspiring inclusion starts from we even having this conversation. There's a Women in Energy Network, which I'm a founding member of. And that's exactly what we're trying to do. We have STEM initiatives that we're running. And what we try to do is we go to schools and let people get the exposure to science subjects. Let them know that there are these things that we do that women can do, that women can do, these jobs that women can do. It's not just for men. Even at work, we have your Bring Your Daughter to Work day, where you can actually bring your daughter to work, who can see that this is what I do, this is what other women do, you can also do it. And in all these companies, really, even if the men are doing the heavy lifting, like they want to believe, like climbing the ladders and all that, we have people like me. I'm a lawyer, and I'm working in a male-dominated field. So it doesn't have to also be a man at that part of the business. So inspiring inclusion starts with us even starting the conversations from the primary level. Even at homes, let parents understand that your child saying they want to go to a camera training school, like Stephanie mentioned, does not mean that they cannot excel at it. Doesn't mean that they cannot do it. You should also allow your females see that they can also do these things that men are doing. And I think that conversation starts at the childhood level, at the home level. Not just go and be a lawyer, go and be an accountant, go and be a doctor. That's what women, your mates are doing. But look, there are other things you can do outside that space. So educating the parents is extremely important.
Yeah, and there's these conversations, you know, generational differences, like patriarchy and sexism is viewed differently in different generations. So my mom's generation may view a man dominating a space as normal, but my generation, we're like, no, that's not normal. How do we bridge the gap with these conversations? How do we have discourse around this so that we both understand, both generations are understanding of this issue?
Yeah, very true. I mean, when you were speaking there, I remember seeing a story, I think it was about 2 weeks ago, of a girl, I think she's about 5 or 6, whose mom is a lawyer. And she met her mom's colleague for the first time, and she's like, oh, what do you do? And the guy says, I'm a lawyer. She's like, no, you have to be a woman to be a lawyer. And it just was interesting, because for her, that's what a woman does. So that's what you're talking about. That's what she sees, and it's normal for her. You know, but I mean, I look at all the statistics globally, and I want to talk about the cultural nuances and, you know, peculiarities to Nigeria. Because countries like Rwanda, for example, there are more women in parliament than men. It doesn't mean there are more women in the country. Kenya, it just so happens that Kenya, you know, you have all of these countries where it's so normal. It's not even a thing. While here we have, what, 2 senators? So it's ridiculous numbers, you know. So how do you find that, you know, culture plays into all of this? And because of how strongly we hold to our culture, religion, beliefs, whatever it is, you know, oh, a woman will soon go and get pregnant now, she has to take leave, you know, all of those things. How do you start to have those conversations? Because it's so deeply ingrained in us.
So I think first of all, let's even start from where the issues started from. Culturally, we've always believed that women are just supposed to be in the kitchen, cooking, cleaning, taking care of the kids. So that's where the problem starts from. So if we're going to be talking about how do we solve this solution, like I mentioned earlier, we need to go back to the home front. We need to go to schools. We need to talk to people at schools. We need to make people believe. I mean, the school that my kids go to sometimes, there was a time one of the teachers, because I have 3 daughters and I have 2 sons, and there was a time one of the teachers in the school made a statement to her, and I had to call the teacher to tell the teacher, you don't make, it was a very, very funny statement. As a girl, you shouldn't do, you know. As a girl. That's not the point. That statement is what I don't want to hear. Don't say that to my child. If a boy can do it, then a girl can do it. Don't give that distinction. So there's a mindset change that needs to happen at all levels. It's not just, it's at school, it's at home, it's at all levels. And we need to start having, this is the beginning of such discussions. I mean, on a Sunday evening, we're here talking about it. It's Women's Month, and we're here talking about it and engaging on these issues. Letting the knowledge, let people know that this is a problem, and let like, I talk to some of my domestics and let them know that, look, don't close what your children can do. If your children need to go to school, because what you find is that a lot of the times, they can't afford to send all kids to school, so they send the boys to school, the girls stay at home. And I'm like, no. Give your children an opportunity. We have the Dora Kulis out there. We have Michelle Obama's out there that we're giving opportunities. So give your children the opportunity as much as possible as well. Whatever it takes, give them the opportunity.
And I think what you're saying is very, very key, because most times you find that women have to open the doors for other women. Like you said, you're doing with your production, you're hiring other women, but it also takes sometimes money. To do a lot of this, and having that access to money is, I mean, I know you're very passionate about gender gaps and, you know, the pay disparities and all of that. You want to speak on it?
I mean,
even in our industry.
Yeah, even in our industry, it's really tough, because we are both doing the same work, if not sometimes more. Because don't forget, the woman is also balancing the home. So, but the pay, there's such a gap, and there's there's still no reason for it. It's just based on gender. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
There's so much that can be done and that should be done, but it's like the conversations are always had and then it just ends there.
Yeah, because this pay gap thing has been going on.
Yeah. So it is almost like as a woman, you now have to take it upon yourself that when you are hiring a woman, make sure that you are paying her well, because that's another thing. We can complain about men not paying women or there being a pay gap, but are women being fair to women as well in the workspace? In
the workspace, yes.
Yeah.
So women also need to embrace this. But I think the reason why we have this pay gaps a lot of the times, and this is because I've consulted for some projects where they're hiring people, and I realized that the challenge is they feel that women will go out on this maternity leave at some point in time. They will take time off to take some child to the hospital, and they're trying to make up for it with the pay. So that's actually the challenge. They don't understand that your wife is taking care of your home as well. That's why you're at work, right?
Exactly.
So you need to also factor that in. It's a huge sacrifice that we're making, and not that we should get punished for it like that, which is what is currently happening. And that's why that pay gap, there was a rule that I was talking about, and they're like, the salary was pegged for a guy. And then when they found out that it was only a woman that could take up the role, we were going to reduce it, and I was like, no, that's not going to happen.
Oh, wow.
Exactly. So it happens today all over Nigeria. Don't let me say all over the world, but all over Nigeria, a lot of people think that women should earn much less, which I don't think, is the right way to go. To be honest, I'm not even joking. Women are able to even put in a lot more because we can multitask. Yeah. We can do so many things. We're versatile. So that really should count for something to be very, very large extent.
Well, almost out of time, so I think I want to get from you on a final note. What do you want to see? Because International Women's Day is every year, right? Next year, we're going to get to another one. What do you want to see between now and next year achieved, especially in Nigeria? It's sometimes small lips and bounds and whatever. What do you want to see happen in the next year?
What is most critical for me is for the women to be more competent. So I always say we're not looking for pity. We're not looking for people to just say, oh, well, let's just have mercy on them so that they won't say women. No, we need to ensure that we are the best in what we do. We need to educate ourselves. We need to make sure we bring our A game to work. So what I want to see is, I want to see women featured more, but not because people pity them, but because they are competent, because they have the necessary experience, they have the necessary academic qualifications. So what I want to see is a change at all levels. We're seeing changes we're seeing changes at the board levels, at senior levels, but I think it needs to trickle down. Yeah. So between now and next year, I want to see that trickle down to more junior positions where you have more competent. I always say competence, not just because you're female, but because you're actually competent and you're the most suited for that role. Yeah.
Before we go, I want to ask an eco-disco question.
Oh my God.
What's going on? The weather is hot.
Extremely hot.
So
help us.
Eco-disco distributes power. I always like telling people that, let's be clear, we do not generate at all. We do not transmit. So if there's any problem with generation, if there's any problem with transmission,
you can't distribute.
We have nothing to distribute. But what we're doing as Eco-disco is that we're trying to get what we call embedded generation power into our system, which is off the grid. It just comes from a large generator planted within our network and plugged into the system. It's a lot more expensive, but it's more efficient and more reliable.
It's hot too.
It is, I know. Well,
that's a siren.
Can I show you?
That siren is such a turn on for me.
Wow.
This is like Christmas. Every time we hear it.
When it comes on, it means there's lights. That's the thing. So
please help us.
It doesn't come on when it goes.
Talk to your people. Thank you so much for being here today. Happy Mother's Day again. Happy International Women's Day. And thanks for being here today.